Welcome to Shelaborate. I'm Kath.
And I'm Kyra. This is our podcast for the girls, from the girls.
We're telling our stories, hyping up women who inspire us, and shelaborating every step of the way.
It's time to give you the girl talk you've been waiting for. Let's get into it.
Are you wearing glitter? I like it.
I know. I was feeling really sparkly today.
You just look like you're light and fresh and
glowing
onto a new. You do look glowing.
That's I
you made
feel
me
like
want to get a spray tan really bad.
My next chapter is gonna be she's glowing.
That's a good title.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping for the next chapter. Welcome back, Shelaborators. We have been on a little of an inadvertent break because we've just got a lot of life stuff going on, a lot of changes, and a lot of new things that are going to take us into different chapters of our life. And that's what we want to focus on for this episode because it is my last week in the Army. Last week, I signed my DD214 and I am no longer in the military.
That's
I am a
huge
free
deal.
girl.
I can't believe that you are officially out.
I know, because we've also talked about it for so long and it was kind of a plan for a while, but it just takes a while with all the paperwork and applying to get out. It just takes a while to actually get to that point.
And today we are recording on International Women's Day.
Yes, which I love.
This is even more special that we get to celebrate what you did in the past and get ready for your next chapter.
Yeah.
And
which we can also maybe talk a little bit about because I'm really excited about that too.
Yeah, I think we should. Okay, so as we start this episode, we're going to give a platform to Kathleen to share some of her life lessons learned and her story as she joined the Army and then transitioned through different phases in the Army. And then at the end, we're going to share some little fun facts about Kathleen's Army career.
Yeah.
And where she's going next.
I think overall it's just crazy, right? So been in the Army the last 10 years. If anyone has been with us throughout this podcast, we don't talk about it a whole lot, but you would know that Kyra and I are both in the military, both in the Army. I joined about 10 years ago. So the last 10 years and then 4 years before that being an ROTC, the Army's kind of all that I've ever really known in my adult life. Haven't really done a whole lot else.
It's crazy because when you talk to someone who's in the military and then someone who's outside the military, I think it's really common for people our age to have had at least one or two jobs, sometimes tons of jobs. And truly our only adult life job that we've had has been the military. Different jobs in the military, but
and I also think it's worth noting that the military is not just a job. It's very much a lifestyle and not in the oh my God, it's a lifestyle. You wouldn't get it. It's just you are sacrificing a lot. You're gone a lot. You do have maybe other things in your life that are going to take a back seat to the military. And I don't think that is the case in a lot of professions, but it definitely is in the military. And I think a big reason why I decided that I wanted to get out.
Yeah.
But I joined in 2016 out of ROTC. I did Clemson ROTC. And my plan, I don't know if you know this, was to go be a JAG officer.
Really?
Was to go be a lawyer.
I did not know that.
Yep. I remember it was my senior year of high school. I was I want to go get a political science degree and then I'm going to go to law school. And I did ROTC to kind of help me pay my way through college. And I knew I always wanted to be in the military. So it was to me the best of both worlds. But it was yeah, I'm just going to go be a lawyer. I'll do my time and then I'll go get out and go do real lawyer stuff. But I had some, I would say, mentors in ROTC that identified that I was, pretty good at it. I showed up. I was super fit. I was a runner. So I was crushing the 2 mile. And that's what everyone sees. For a PT test, your push-ups, sit-ups, whatever could be trash as long as you're fast.
Yeah. And I think particularly for those who aren't familiar, ROTC, it's cadets at that school. So the programs can be pretty small.
Yeah.
And there's even less women in the programs. So if you are showing up and you are physically fit and able to compete with the guys, I think you really stand out quickly.
You do. But yeah, I showed up. I was like able to run a fast 2 miles. So they were like, Ranger Challenge. You're going to be on the Ranger Challenge team, which we laugh about it because any woman that went through ROTC like kind of knows that joke of like, oh, you're fast, like we need you on the Ranger Challenge team, because it was an event that every school put together a team and you needed one female.
And usually the female kind of determined how
good
well the team was going to do, because for the most part, a lot of the males, like they pick the best from the program. So they're pretty similar across the board. But if you have a female who can ruck or run really well
and keep up,
you are going to crush.
Yes. And so that's kind of what started out with that. And then I was doing well, and I kind of realized that I wanted to do the army, and then maybe I could get back into like the JAG program. But to your point of like showing up and being a female and like being in good shape, I feel like over my career, a lot of the time people will ask you if it's difficult being a woman in the military. And like, yes, absolutely. It's like more difficult, but I think it's easier to stand out.
Oh, I agree.
It's easier to show up to a unit or show up to your battalion. And if you're super fit, that gives you a foot in the door and like shows a little bit of competence that ultimately like we as women don't get just showing up to any other place.
Yeah, it's funny. It seems like the baseline assumption usually is that women suck. Mm-hmm. So when you don't suck at a baseline thing, like doing push-ups, sit-ups, and running, they're like, oh my gosh, wow, you're really outstanding.
Yeah.
Because the expectation is, oh, you suck if you're performing like a normal, regular woman would. Like
if you're meeting the standards.
If you are meeting the standards of what the Department of Defense has put forth as these are the standards for women, you quote unquote suck. If you are performing similar to your male peers, they're like, oh, you are so incredible.
Yeah, like you can hang.
And I think that there's like a lot of problems with that. But I've also experienced where it's like I can have like positive influence on my unit because people are like, give you credibility because you're a fast runner.
Yeah. And sometimes it really does come down to a fast runner. We often joke of like your 2 mile makes you a good leader, which obviously isn't the case. But the Army is a lot about appearance, and it is a lot about outward stuff like that. And I also think being the only female like I was in a lot of my units, like you, of course, are going to stand out because you're the only officer amongst a bunch of males. And so all of my commanders knew me, battalion commanders, brigade commanders, all knew me by name. And it helped because I was really good at my job. But then I got a little bit of a leg up because I'm going to stand out just by the fact that I'm a female.
Yeah, I was just about to say, everyone's going to know your name. It's really easy for people to kind of keep track of you, to see what you're doing or not doing. I think that it can be a blessing and a curse.
Totally.
It is, you are under the microscope 100% of the time. Like if you make a mistake, everyone knows it's a mistake, but it's also not a mistake just for you.
Yeah.
It's a mistake for women.
Totally.
And so I think that you like taking that and turning that into something good is something that like not just women in the military or women in the Army should do, but like if you're in tech or you're you know, if you are one of the only women where you work, use that to your advantage. You know, like,
and that truly is kind of something that you learn. Again, being a woman in a male dominated space is objectively harder. It's, you have to do more work, but you do take advantage of those things that are going to work in your favor. Like, people knew my name, and I luckily put in the work that it was always good stuff. And like, you know, my reputation did precede me, as you would say. But that is something that I don't think a lot of people would think about, and something that like, it is very difficult being a woman in the military, but it's not all bad. There are some good things.
There are some good things. And I may have said this on our podcast before, but saying that my first battalion commander said to me was, you're going to have to work twice as hard to get half as much, but you will make exponential change in this unit. And I didn't really get that at the time because I was like, if I'm working twice as hard to get half as much, how am I making change? But truly, like that positioning, just like your commanders, your bosses, knowing your name and knowing the things that you do and recognizing like this person has done this enables you to do, I would say like bigger things
open doors
than a lot of your peers.
Yeah, it does open doors that maybe other people aren't. And I think too, kind of when we were coming up, especially from like ROTC into our lieutenant time, most of the time we were the first females that these people were working with. We were the first women in our unit doing these jobs. And it does put an extra amount of pressure on you because when you do fail, you put it on yourself that you're failing all women. Because people see you not be able to do it, they think that nobody can do it.
Exactly.
So there is a different amount of pressure that I think that we go through and that I definitely felt. I had a chip on my shoulder almost my whole career because of that. I always felt like I couldn't show weakness. I had to show up in a certain capacity because I was being judged not just myself and like what I'm going to do in the future, but like other women were being judged based off of my performance. So that is kind of the other side of the coin. Is it may open doors for you. You do get recognized. You are under a microscope, but at least when we were coming through, when we were lieutenants, it was like, oh, you failed. Well, women can't do this.
Yeah. And to give some of our listeners a little bit of context, Kathleen graduated in 2016 and then she commissioned as an officer following her graduation from Clemson. I graduated the following year. When in 2016, Congress decided that women should be allowed to serve in combat military occupational specialties in the Army. So women had been serving on the front lines for years prior to that. We had the CST program, which our friend Malia talked a little bit about that during her episode. But women were also just serving on the front lines in military occupational specialties, which is just like their job specialization. They were on the front lines, but they weren't in combat jobs per se. In 2016, Congress decided that women should be allowed to serve in these roles.
Yeah.
And when Congress decided that, not only did it open up doors, but it positioned women to join job specialties that had not been open before.
Yeah. So I remember it was 2015 when they opened Ranger School. And I remember sitting in the library and the first two women had graduated Ranger School. And that's kind of when I'd already knew that I wanted to be combat arms. But when I put in for what branch I wanted, I could not put up combat arms because it wasn't available. And when I don't remember which year they opened up artillery, but women weren't in infantry battalions. They weren't doing light cannon artillery. There was still a lot of limitations for the jobs that they could actually do. And so I remember when I had put field artillery because I knew I wanted to be combat arms and that was going to be my best opportunity to do something like that. And then infantry and armor opened up. And I remember sitting in one of our cadre's office of like wondering if I should do it. And he was an armor officer and he didn't think I should do it. He was like, yeah, he was like, you're just going to be in tanks all sweaty and like all this stuff. And then I had a lot of people that were either like a year older than me that had kind of gone the infantry route, all this stuff. And I remember thinking, I was like, I don't want my career success to be contingent on if I finished Ranger School or not. Because I know that was a huge stigma at the time. If you didn't finish Ranger School, you weren't like a real infantry officer, which is obviously ridiculous. But that was kind of the mindset I had. And I was like, all right, I'm technically already in a combat arms role. I'm just going to stick with that.
I think in the ROTC programs heavily discouraged women from branching combat arms because there was in part, I think because it's hard, but also regardless of how good you were, there was so much confusion about what that would actually look like. Yeah. And there wasn't any answers or guidance that our mentors could really give us in saying, this is what your pathway will look like.
Yeah.
And so field artillery, her year would have been like the only combat arms option that she could have selected. And so even preferencing that as number one is a huge deal and was like a big sacrifice to make in knowing I don't potentially know what my future will look like. I don't have mentors who look or sound like me, and mentors who are going to be able to tell me, oh, this is what it's going to be like as a woman. And so I think that it's important to note that decision probably changed the course of your life, but also was extremely brave and like probably really scary, because you truly like, you don't know what it's going to be like. You really don't. And I think looking back, 10 years ago, set you on the course for probably who you are today.
And I think one of the biggest reasons why I'm glad I didn't go infantry or armor is because I probably would not have had the same opportunity to do the CST program. And that was like the pinnacle of my career, like period. Was not even a question. And so I think artillery is a great branch because you do get a whole lot of exposure to different things. So,
can you explain what artillery is just to someone who may not know?
Yeah, so artillery, usually what I just say is like the big guns. So you have the 155s, you have the 105s, and then you have rockets, which I don't know a whole lot about. I did that. But when you go into your lieutenant time, you can be a fire direction officer. So you're basically doing the math that calculates from the gun to the target, like how it gets there and what charges and all that stuff need to tell the gun line to do whatever. Or you can be a fire support officer, which is basically a person embedded into an infantry company that helps plan targets for the infantry commander. So like, hey, we should shoot this, and this is what we have. And you advise him or her, basically. And then you have a platoon leader, which you are the person in charge of a set of 3 howitzers, essentially. And so I was a fire support officer. And so I spent 18 months with a light infantry company. And that was just it was a steep learning curve, right? Like I was probably a show going into it, right? But it was a good experience. And then I went on to be a platoon leader. And I think it set the stage well to do CST and like have kind of that combat arms, but also like I had a lot of infantry experience because I had spent so much time with them. So I commissioned, I went artillery. My first kind of duty station was Fort Sill, Oklahoma, at BOLIC, which is our basic officer leaders course. And it was my first real experience being a woman in the Army. And that's when I really realized what that meant, which included a lot of unwanted attention, a lot of getting picked on just because you were like, not different, but like you were kind of like the easy person to pick on. But I also was able to, again, stand out because like fitness wise, I was good. I was in the pre-ranger program, trained up for ranger school like all that time. So I had a little bit of cred just by that fact. And I remember I beat a lot of the guys in the 5 mile. And so after that, most of them were like, well, we can't talk anymore because she beat us. So like,
to be honest, the best way to get good street cred, especially early in an Army career, is to be physically fit.
And honestly, just outrun them. When I was in BOLIC, that was so kind of like realizing being in the Army, I had a really, really good group of girlfriends when I was there. Shout out to my girlies. I know Shelby listens. Taylor and Kelsey, we were just kind of like our little girl gang in Fort Sill. And it was just nice having them there. And we like clicked immediately and are still friends.
Were you guys in the same platoon, or did they separate you into different platoons?
None of us were in the same platoon. But I think just to note the importance of finding people that are like you to vent to and just know that you're going through the same thing.
And actually understanding what you are going through. Mm-hmm. Because you're all going through the same thing.
But you're not going through the same thing.
But you're not going through the same thing.
And then we had a group of, guy friends that were with us too, that we would just like go to OKC on the weekends and go to Dallas. And so it was like a mini college experience, and we were all living in the hotel. Yeah. So that was just a cool transition and genuinely very fun.
Yeah, BOLIC, the training phase right before you get to your actual first duty station, I think is really fun, really hard.
Yes.
but a good experience, I think, overall
Yes.
for most people.
Wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah, my first duty station was Hawaii. Obviously incredible, but I did always say that there are worse places to hate your job. Because in general, I wasn't like particularly happy there in my job.
I think that that's a pretty common sentiment for young lieutenants, is that you come out of college, you go to IBOLC, or you go to BOLC, your training, and you're surrounded by other lieutenants, and you like form these relationships and bonds with people. But then when you get to your first duty station, it's very isolating. Now you are truly like alone.
An island by yourself. And it very much felt that way as an artillery officer in an infantry company.
That's what I was going to say. Even more so because you are working with people who aren't even your same job specialization. And every day the sentiment is, well, prove yourself, prove you're good enough to work with us. And so I think that can be, even if you're super good at your job and you like the actual aspects of your job, that is something that is extremely challenging and can't be overlooked.
Yeah, so that part was very difficult, I think. And then platoon leader time, everyone's like, this is the greatest time of your life. And I was like, straight up not having a good time, dog. Like, it was fine, right? But
I think they just say that because all of the other jobs are so
even worse.
dastardly bad. Like, it is diabolical to say, this is the best time of your life. Like, have you ever been to Disney? Have you ever gone on vacation?
Have you done literally anything else?
What do you mean this is the best
Yes.
time of your life? Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
this is extremely hard.
It was not always fun. But Hawaii was very cool. I
Yes.
learned to surf. I started my skydiving career there.
And you applied for the CST program.
I did. And I met Malia.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I remember getting an email that was requesting women, and I forget the specific wording, but it was basically like join special operations in these environments where they need women to talk to women and children, that like the men just simply can't do it. And I remember being super interested in that. I asked 3 different times to my battalion commander if I could do it, because you have to get released by HRC, which is people that manage all of the officers. And then you also have to get released by your units because you're gone for a year. And so I asked my first commander to ask the battalion commander, and it was almost like a hard no. And it usually came out every 6 months. So then I was like, okay, well, there's going to be a new battalion commander in a couple months. I'm going to ask him when I'm done. And so I asked him. I think at that time I was a platoon leader. And so he was like, once you're done with your platoon leader time, then you can do it. And so the next
he
time
left.
No.
Probably.
Okay. So then
Oh.
he was still there. And so when I asked him again, he was like, I told you could do it. So I don't have a foot to stand on. And he was like, I just don't want to lose you as an officer, which was, I mean, nice to hear. Right. So then he finally let me do it, but he did it begrudgingly because he didn't want to let me go.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I finished my platoon leader time and I went to selection. So you go to CA selection, civil affairs, and then you go through a separate kind of training pipeline, and then you train up for about 4 months, and then we deployed for 7. And we talked about it with Malia on her episode, but we just had a really good group of girls. And it was the first time most of us had been around women of our same caliber. I mean, that's like kind of true. Like, we were constantly just like very competitive, but it was a good environment to be in. And it was really cool.
I think it feels different to compete with someone who is so similar to you.
Mm-hmm.
When you spend your whole career competing with men, it's like you're competing with them, but you're also in your own category.
Yes.
And then when you truly get to compete against someone where you're like, I can fully appreciate everything that you're going through,
Yes.
and you can appreciate everything that I'm going through.
And it's this like mutual respect.
Yes, it is like this bond that is unbreakable, because I feel like you're kind of like not amazed by them, but you're like, it's a respect. You have like a respect for the competition.
Yes. And we're spending 4 months together doing the same thing, spending every single day together. And then we get sent off to different places on our deployment. So our only real connection to them was via text message, and then we were kind of not thrown off to the wolves, but like we were sent with our strike forces and we were on our own to just do our thing. But like Malia said, it was nice to know that you could reach out to each other and vent because they knew what you were going through. Yeah. And I remember multiple times I hit up Malia and I was like, this just happened. Like, what? Like,
yeah. Was this your first deployment?
This was my first deployment. And this was a time when like our peers weren't deploying.
No.
Especially when I was in Hawaii. Those units weren't really deploying, even though we were still in the Middle East. That was not a lot of really any units in Hawaii's mission set. We were doing a lot more like pathways stuff, going to New Zealand, blah, blah, blah. So we deployed to Afghanistan, and I spent the first half of my deployment with Ranger Regiment, and I spent the second half of my deployment with MARSOC. And I always say that I'm very grateful for my first experience with my first team, but it sucked. It was so hard dealing with some of those people. And it was just a very kinetic summer, and we went through a lot and we saw a lot, and it was like emotionally and mentally just a very difficult job and like place to be in that time.
Do you feel like your experience as a field artillery officer helped you with that? Because that's kind of the same thing as like being the field artillery officer that gets attached to the infantry. Yes. Now you're the CSD being attached to Ranger Regiment.
Yes. I think that it definitely helps being able to integrate when I had been doing that my whole career. You had to figure out, but it didn't work on my first team. I did not integrate well. I had a terrible platoon sergeant who hated enablers, hated females, and hated officers. And so I was like the trifecta of like,
he was like my hatred. Mortal enemy.
He hated me, and he made it so clear. And he was the one that was controlling manifest. So if he was in charge, I wasn't making it on the target, on the mission. And
so basically he just wouldn't add you to the list, and
yeah, pretty much.
You wouldn't get on the flight.
And so whenever we had a mission, like a bigger mission, and the company commander was in charge, he really understood the importance of what CSTs were doing out there, and he would make sure I was on the manifest. But it was frustrating because I would have the platoon leader come to me after a mission and be like, we really needed you out there. And I was like, I'm the wrong person to talk to because
you're like,
I
keep showing up.
I keep showing up.
Yeah, you're like, I trained up to do this.
Yes.
Put me on the plane.
Yes.
Like, put me on the bird.
Put me on the bird. So it felt like a failure in my eyes because I don't think anyone would necessarily have been super successful working with him. But I just felt like I had taken a slot from somebody else. And it felt like a huge failure in that aspect.
I think it's because you're trained and taught like everything that you do or don't do is on you.
Yeah.
Like you are responsible for you are responsible for the success or failure of XYZ. And so even when you are in a lose-lose situation, it doesn't matter. You take responsibility for that because there is no option of being like, yeah, this guy was a complete jerk and just didn't get it.
This guy just didn't see the value of my position.
So you spent approximately how long with
that? Was about 3.5 months.
And then you switched over to working with MARSOC.
And then I worked with MARSOC. And so I was grateful for working with that team because when I was there, they were getting like all of the good missions. They were doing most of the high value targets, the more important targets. And so anytime that something had popped up of interest, they were getting sent. And so there were a couple times when it was quite literally like all boots on deck for a mission that we were doing. And that's like, not a lot of people get that opportunity.
No, especially during that time frame. And
especially during that time frame. We weren't going out every single night, but when we were, we knew that we were we were going to get in a gunfight.
Yeah, and what you were doing was the most important thing going on at that time.
Yes. And so when I went to my second team, they were relatively new to that mission set. And so they were just excited to be there, which made it really, really fun to integrate and like very fun to work with. And so I was so thankful going from a really not terrible experience, but like kind of a confidence crusher into a team that valued me and wanted me to be there and appreciated what I had to offer. I think just by the fact that I was with the first team that I was with, kind of just came with a certain amount of like, oh, she went out with them. Like, she's already got some street cred. So, I mean, I quote unquote suffered those 3.5 months, but it also, like, there were just some really difficult missions that we had and like things that we saw, and like watching your buddies get hurt. Like, that's like that was real.
Yeah.
That was really real. But it felt a lot more real with my second team just because I like cared about them so much. You know what I mean? I was just so much closer with them.
And when they're like fully integrating you, like you are a part of the team.
Yeah. There would be certain points where I'm like, I don't think I should be doing this. Like on target. We're like, I don't think I should be doing this.
But here I am.
But here I am.
You said that was the pinnacle of your career. Why do you say that?
I feel like people in their life have maybe 1 or 2 experiences or events that happen where they look at their life as a before and after this event. And I very much looked at my Army career and probably life in general as a before and after this deployment, just because of the perspectives that I gained having dealt with like quite literally life and death situations, and in a country so different than our own that you can't leave there not different.
Yeah, you have to come back a changed person in some way.
Yeah, and I truly think you're like chemically different. And so I think I kind of prioritize things as an Army leader differently, because I did see the value in certain things, and I did see like, okay, well, this doesn't matter right now. This is not a life or death situation. This training it just doesn't matter as much because you have that perspective and you've seen, you know, why you train essentially. And so I just gained a lot more perspective and like aged probably years from that deployment.
Yeah, I feel like anyone who's gone on a really tough deployment, you have to mature so much because you are put in these situations where you are seeing really, really tough things and you are having to make decisions that may or may not impact the lives of not just the people that are around you, but people back home. And so I think that gravity really changes how you think, especially because then when you come back, things that were quote unquote serious before, you're like, this is not even remotely serious.
Literally
like,
not even a little bit.
We don't need to be so like uptight about these things.
Which is a good perspective to have in my opinion. So I think that was one of the big reasons why I call it kind of like the defining or the pinnacle moment. Also, I was just very aware that I was doing stuff that a lot of people, one, dream of doing and don't get the opportunity to do. And I was very aware of that, like when I was doing it. And so I always would joke, but I like very much mean it, that I peaked like on my CST journey. And I don't mean that in like a degrading way. I just mean I did something very, very cool. And it's very, very unlikely that the Army is going to give me that experience again. And I just knew that was an incredible experience that not a lot of people get.
Do you have a memory from your deployment that you think of like with your team where you're just like, that was it? Like that was...
I mean, there's a lot of things when I think of that deployment that are like the hard hitting memories that I probably wouldn't necessarily share with anybody. But I would say it was kind of almost like the smaller things of like going to breakfast with the team after a mission and just like eating the cinnamon rolls and hanging out and like playing Mario Kart with the team.
Yeah.
That and getting to train up with the girls that we trained up with and still be friends with them to this day is like super cool.
I feel like those are the type of things that when you're 80,
yes,
you will be able to recall like this. If you have a cinnamon roll and it tastes like that cinnamon roll, you will be like, this is the cinnamon roll that I was eating.
And it's kind of like, you know, when memories come back based off of like the way things smell.
Yeah.
Or like, I get that a lot of like, it's dark out. I'm like, am I back in Afghanistan? Like,
yeah, it's like a certain
feeling.
Sensory feeling takes you back to those, I think, really pinnacle moments in your life. Yeah. And then you came back from your CST experience.
Went back to Hawaii, roomed with Malia, and then I left and I switched over to civil affairs. So I went to selection to become a CST. I got accepted into civil affairs. And I was interested in the job that it does, but I was also kind of just interested in the training that it could give me, you know, like language training. I think that's so cool.
Fun fact, Kathleen and I actually speak the
Arabic.
Same language of Arabic. Yeah, we both speak Levantine Arabic.
Yeah, Kyra much more so than I do, but
But
I barely got through. But yeah, went to civil affairs, went through like our, I don't know, 1.5-year pipeline and went to the unit. And I think that was like my second very defining deployment in like a not good way.
Yeah.
And I was gone for 6 months on a position that they just like had to fill. Like I was this body that they could send. And it's not that I wasn't necessarily like excited to do it. It just wasn't like the main job that you do as a captain when you're getting into this job. I was doing staff stuff, which like nobody wants to do.
You're a cog in a machine. It's not like your last deployment. It's more, this is routine,
It's
day
like-
to day, office staff
It's like
work.
nothing is important and everything is important.
Yeah, and I feel like being a cog in a machine is so
Exhausting.
draining.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot to our conversation with Alex about burnout and rust out.
Yes.
And that experience, I talked a little bit about that experience on that episode, but that's just the epitome of kind of what happened. I was like so rusted out from just not being like utilized to my full potential and miserable and just very, very, very unhappy. And I thought it was going to be just a change in scenery thing, like when I got back and everything was going to be good. And it turns out that wasn't the case. And I struggled with like mental health stuff for like another year afterwards. And that was kind of the main decision of like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot be put in I don't want to do a job anymore that like I can't quit, because it's so isolating and it's so taxing.
Not only can you not quit, you can't really quiet quit. Like, I know that people will be like, quiet quit your job. I feel like that's kind of like a popular thing on social media nowadays. But for starters, it is so ingrained in you, especially if you have an experience like you did in Afghanistan where like people's lives depend on you.
Yes.
Like people are counting on you, that like when you go through experiences like that where it is literally your job to show up and give your absolute best
and
like,
quite literally bring people home
and bring people home, and like to the point of you will do things that are detrimental to yourself to ensure the success of the team. And that is so ingrained into you for literally years that the idea of showing up and being like, this PowerPoint doesn't frankly matter, I'm just not going to care about it. Even if you verbally tell yourself, don't care about this, it doesn't matter.
you'll spend hours.
You will spend hours doing that.
Yes.
And it's like, I think you can like want to care less.
Yes.
But it doesn't work like that.
And I remember that was a time. So then I became a team leader and I was in charge of a team and we were set to deploy literally a year from when I got back. And I just knew that I wasn't in the right mental headspace to like be the team leader that my team needed. And so it's like a guilty thing of like, I can't be a good leader for them. And that was like crushing me also, just like trying to deal with my own stuff, but still trying to be there for the team, to the point where I almost gave up my team leader spot. And I remember talking to my commander about it, and I had told him that I wanted to get out, that was the plan, and that I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a team leader. And it was kind of a cry for help.
Yeah. Did he receive that?
He did not receive that. And he's like, you can't do that. And I was just like, I just think if anyone had come to me like that, I would have like, okay, let's dive into this. Why are you feeling this way? And I not getting that sucked.
I think it sucks. And also on another level, it's like you, like going back to what I was just saying, even if you know you are not at your best, you're going to give what little you have left to those people. So when you are saying like, hey, I might need to like give this up, it's like, I am drowning, literally like as I'm drowning and going underwater, holding these other people up above water. I am telling you I'm drowning and you're not recognizing that.
Yeah.
Because what you're seeing is me performing at work. And I feel like the common conversation, unfortunately, in this scenario is like, well, you actually are doing really well. Like, you are actually one of our better team leaders. And you're like, but this is not my best. And I'm giving my final grains of myself.
And it's killing me knowing that I can't give my best.
Yes.
And that sucks too.
And it's just not, they don't recognize that side of it. And so they're just like, no, all I see is like good performance. So you're doing good.
Yeah.
It should be like a huge red flag to any boss out there if
high
someone
performer.
who is high performing is saying, I need to give up my position.
Yeah.
And I just think that they're like, oh, they just want reassurance. I don't know what they think.
I think he understood it in a sense that I wanted to give up the team so that I had time to prepare myself to get out, which was not the case. I maybe could understand why that would maybe come across, but it was like I don't have the mental capacity to be the team leader that these people need. And I think it's interesting to your point, going back to your story about your battalion commander saying that like you will have to work twice as hard. I think that's when I kind of did realize that like my 50% looks like 100% compared to everybody else because I do work so hard.
Oh, yeah.
And because I put in more work than probably my peers do, and I have for my whole career.
Oh, yeah. I think that that's a common thing amongst high achieving women.
And it's like I am telling myself that I don't care, but I know that I still care.
I can't even tell you how many times I've been like,
yeah, I don't care.
Today I'm not caring about this. Like,
so kind of all after that, I think, so then I stayed on the team, I deployed with the team, and just kind of a big shout out to my team sergeant. It was actually the first woman that I had ever had underneath me. It was my first female soldier. And I kind of tell people like that is the Army's final gift to me, is like putting the two of us together, because I think like results aside, I truly think that we were a dream team. And it was just so nice to be with someone and lead with someone that had a very similar perspective to me. And we were able to kind of like vent about things. And like it was just such a cool experience. We did have a great team. We had a good deployment. It was like everything that I could have asked for. But I'll always be grateful because I learned so much from her. It's actually part of the reason why I want to get into like paramedicine, because she is like a paramedic and she was incredible at it. And like having her teach us stuff was so cool, and just watching her be so good at it.
I think that having someone else who you could actually talk to and actually relate to was extremely important during that deployment.
Yes.
And I don't think people realize how alone it feels to be the leader of a group, but also the only female usually. And it's just really lonely. Yeah.
It's really lonely. And I mean, not that this is like important at all. I always joke about, have I shown you the picture of all of the Amazon boxes stacked by my closet?
Oh yeah.
Because I did so much online shopping because I was lonely. I was so lonely.
The pile of packages was insane.
It was as tall as me.
It was the largest pile of packages I think I've ever seen.
Was
it like Christmas morning opening all the presents?
I bought so many clothes off Poshmark. It was probably like Cyber Monday or some like Amazon thing. I bought so much stuff because unfortunately that was an outlet for me. I don't know.
And it's like an
Online
activity.
shopping.
It is like an activity where it's like, okay, I can do this. I feel like it can be kind of mindless in a way of like, you're not thinking about anything serious. You're just shopping on Poshmark.
Plus you're like raking in the deployment money. So it's like guilt-free
and
shopping.
You're just like, you know what? I'm going to look fabulous.
Yes.
When I get back.
Because I'm getting out and then I'm going to wear real clothes and I'm going to look
and I'm going to be so cute. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so glad that you had your team sergeant on that deployment with you. And I think that that's really one of the only things that I've heard about that deployment is you talking about her, because it made a huge difference. And so the people that you're with matter. Like,
it matters.
The people that you're around matter.
Yep. And she was the professional partner that I needed.
Which is even cooler when they are so competent and good at their job that you are like, you make our team better. Like, you make me better. I'm learning from you. I can actually rely on you to be a partner to me rather than me babysitting you.
Yes.
Which I don't think that people talk about that very often, but like sometimes leadership in the military truly does turn into a babysitting job, and it is draining. And you're just like, I don't want to be around you.
You're like, I don't want to have these
Why are you a man-child?
Yeah, you're 30 years old.
So that was the final deployment.
So that was my final deployment. And then I had, put in my paperwork to get out of the military. Then I kind of just started prepping for my life after the Army.
You went to the fire academy?
And I became level 1 and 2 certified firefighter. I'm working on my EMT. Yeah, just excited to get into kind of the search and rescue realm, move out west, and just do something different.
Yeah. So what do you see for future Kathleen? Because I think that this is getting your DD214 is another pinnacle moment. What do you want to do?
So I will say I'm staying in the reserves because I love being able to serve. Like, I love that aspect of it, and I wasn't fully ready to let that go. And so I got a position in Hawaii. So I'll go to Hawaii every couple of weeks out of the year. And it's the first time where I get to decide exactly where I want to be, who I want to be working for and with. And I can say no to jobs, and I can quit jobs, and I can, start having a personal life again and all of that stuff. And that crazy instructor that I told you about in the fire academy, I remember one of the other recruits was like, kind of like, what would you do about that if you worked there? I was like, I wouldn't be on the guy's team anymore because I don't have to deal with that anymore. I dealt with a really toxic company my last position, and there's not a lot of recourse when it's just a toxic environment.
Yeah. And they blame you for bringing it up
for
and
being
trying
the
to change
problem.
it.
Or it's like, well, if you can't integrate, that's your problem.
Yeah. There is a lot of freedom in being able to be like, you know what? I've had enough. And I am so excited that you have that. And that has to feel so freeing.
It's so empowering. It feels really good. And not to say that it's like going to be easy and then I'm going to quit based off of like the littlest convenience.
2 years from now, Kathleen's quit 20 jobs.
But I have realized like I am good at what I do when I put the work into it, and people are going to be lucky to have me on their team. I think as an employee, and that's a beautiful place to be. Yep. And so, so my next 6 months that I'm going to stay here, I am on a all-women 4-way FS team that we're going to compete at nationals in September. And so being on an all-women team and being asked to be on this team was like kind of a dream of mine. And so I definitely prolonged like my move out west to be on this team and to be able to train. And I've had so much fun with them so far. And I can't wait to like progress in the sport and become a coach and just train more. Cool.
I am so happy that you're staying here longer.
I know. Plus podcast.
Yeah, because I get to selfishly hang out with you more, which I'm very glad about.
Yes.
But also very cool that you're skydiving.
Yes. So podcast stuff. Like there was just reasons to stay, and I wasn't in a rush to leave necessarily. And again, I can do whatever I want. Yeah. So then I want to move out to Colorado and either get a job with a fire department right away and go back to the academy or start paramedic school.
So as you look back on your military career, what would you say to your younger self who's about to join the military? And it can't be don't join.
No, it definitely would not be to not join. I would say you should join. That would be my advice to people.
What would it be to yourself?
Yes. I will say one of the biggest things that I learned, and I say often, is like nobody knows what they're doing. And I think often we are very hard on ourselves of like, and the military is a lot of on-the-job training. There's like no way that you could know all of that stuff. And I think as a young lieutenant, you're very hard on yourself for that. And so I would say nobody knows what they're doing, and confidence comes with experience. You cannot be expected to have a certain level of, experience your first day on the job, and that's okay. But to have the humility to ask questions and learn and like be the best leader that you can be. Also, kind of down another like rabbit hole is This might be a hot take, but I think, you know how everyone says perception is reality?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest bull statement ever.
I completely agree with that. And I think that really toxic people use that as a scapegoat. Every time someone has said that to me in the military, I am like immediately, first off, I disagree. But second off, they have always said it in a context where I'm like, you are a toxic person.
And I would say that I used to think that because I was fed that. But then I went through so many experiences where I couldn't have changed anything. And I still had rumors spread about me. I still had wives reach out to me about working with their husbands.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And every single woman in the military has those stories. And so I just think because I have been in situations where I know that I have tailored my behavior and my personality, I think to the detriment of my performance, don't do that. Be yourself. I mean, we all get the whole like be yourself. But at a certain point, you need to be yourself. You need to be professional. And you can't really help what people are going to say about you. And that's just the way that it is.
Do you know that? I think that saying has another part to it. It's perception is reality when you're the majority. But nobody says that part.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's great. And
but it's true. Like when you are the only woman or you're the one with like the differing opinion or you're bringing up a problem or whatever, they're like, well, perception is reality. It's like, yeah, when you think that the same thing as everyone else, that doesn't mean it's right or good or you shouldn't be working to change this.
Yeah, or that's what happens.
Yeah, I think that's the rest of the saying, but people don't actually
know
say
that.
it.
But people use it like a catchphrase, and I think it's BS.
Boo on that phrase.
Boo. Yeah. Perception is reality.
Like perception is reality when you do no effort to actually figure out what's going on. It's like, yeah. So perception is reality.
So you're happy being ignorant.
When you're ignorant and lazy.
Yes.
So
that's one of my biggest probably.
That's a good hot take. Good hot take / advice for young Kathleen.
Because I kind of talking like back to my first appointment, like Malia said, fed so much bad advice about how to be a woman in this specific scenario that all I could remember thinking was I cannot just be a statistic of like, oh, she's going to fall into the same trap that every single other woman has fallen into. And I was just so worried about that I made sure that I was extra professional. I didn't have a personality.
I used to say in my mind all the time, reputation beyond reproach. Like, what? Girl, you don't control what other people think about you. But I would be like, I need to act like a robot because I can't let anyone know that I'm actually a woman.
Because God forbid
someone, sees me put on chapstick that's a little too shiny and they think I'm wearing lip gloss.
Yeah. And I think that was part of the reason why I struggled so hard to integrate with my first team is because I was constantly on edge and I was constantly worried about people perceiving. And then I still got rumors spread about me.
Sometimes you truly can't win. And
you need to be you need to know that going into it.
I think it's something that most women learn throughout their military career is sometimes you can do everything right and still have negative perceptions about you. I have some other questions for you. When you first join the military, they're very prescriptive about the way that you need to dress, the way that you need to wear your hair. And it's a big transition when you first become a cadet into learning how to wear the uniform, learning how to do your hair. But I think the longer that you're in the military, your style in your uniform changes a lot. And you even see it like as people progress throughout the ranks. Like you can tell a brand new private or a brand new lieutenant kind of by the way that they wear their uniform. So how do you think your Army style
has changed
throughout your career?
So when I showed up to my first unit, I had just gotten back from Ranger School. So I had a bald head. And I looked dumb as shit. And there's not a lot of style that I feel like you can have with that. Like, I've been called things like, people thought I had cancer, you know, and then you grow your hair out a little bit and then you're a chia pet.
You have a mullet.
Then I had a mullet, and none of that was cute. Like, you know how you see some girls with like the pixie cut, like,
Yeah.
like grew it out very gracefully. I was quite literally the exact opposite of this.
I think that particularly the military, it makes it nearly impossible to grow it out in a graceful way, because the regulations at the time when we were doing this were you weren't allowed to have a faddish hairstyle. And for women, having like a bald, like zero was considered faddish. So technically you were out of regs, even though you had to do it.
So actually, side note, the class that I went to Ranger School with, it was the first group of infantry women that went through Ranger School. And so we were actually the first class, even though it was against regulation to shave your hair completely, we decided to shave our heads completely.
Yeah.
And so I went to my unit and I had people come up to me and tell me that I was out of regs.
Yeah. And it's like, what do you want me to do? I had to do this for the school. The school is gender agnostic, says shave your head to this. It doesn't say male or female, do it. So you like followed that reg. But then when you came back, people were like,
she's out of regs,
yelling at you, and you're like, yeah, trust me, if I could grow
you
my
think
hair
I want
faster,
a bald head?
You're like, if I could grow my hair like if there's a magic pill that's like, this will shorten your life by 10 years, but your hair will grow back tomorrow, I would have taken it.
I didn't know
But
at the time.
It's really hard to gracefully grow it out because of the regs, because you can't really keep getting it cut into cute cuts. You just kind of have to like try to make it grow as fast as humanly possible and like pin it up and like put it in weird mullet buns. And it's not cute.
And I had a hairdresser that was like, I'm like, hey, can you help me out? And he's like, your best bet is to just grow it out and not get haircuts. So I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I would say right before I shaved my head, Bullock, I would say I'd have like kind of a casual bun. Like I always had these two pieces right here.
Just two little wispies hanging out.
Not necessarily on purpose, but I just like wasn't very neat about it.
Okay, so more of a relaxed bun situation.
Of a relaxed bun. Then I shaved my head, and obviously like that wasn't a problem.
Yes.
And then when I got to the point where I kind of had a mullet, I put it into a little bun.
A little top knot bun?
And a little top, like a ninja. People called me like a ninja because I had a little ponytail up here. But it would be like in the field, right? Yeah. So like all rules are out the window. Yeah. So I remember it. So then I had like a little
ninja bun.
Yeah, a little ninja ponytail. And then obviously when I deployed, it was the CST braid. So then I would, every single time, every mission that I went on, I would do my hair the exact same way. I would have it in a braid. Because it was just easier with the equipment, with the helmet that we had.
Yeah.
And then nothing crazy after that, but I will say I held out for a really long time with the ponytail.
You did not adopt?
I did not adopt right away. It took me a long time.
Really?
Because it was so ingrained in me that I needed to have a bun with my uniform.
Hold out on the ponytail. I wouldn't have expected that from you.
Yes, me neither. And it was almost for like unpure reasons. I think I wholeheartedly believe that a hairstyle cannot be unprofessional. I think when they just changed it, I think my mentality was so like, in order to look professional in this uniform, I need to have a bun.
Yeah.
That's just how my mindset was.
And we had been told so long.
Yes. Not right or wrong.
The bun is the only professional hairstyle. And then the braid for CSTs and then a little bit for infantrymen, like females in the infantry, the braid became like a combat symbol that was like for the field and like for missions.
Yes.
And I think that hair can be really symbolic in a lot of ways. So I love asking people like, how did it change for you?
Yeah. So that was my whole transformation.
Whoa.
Bald head, ponytail.
And now I wear ponytails. Now you can wear whatever you want.
Now I switch it up. Sometimes I'll do the bun. Sometimes I'll do the ponytail. Honestly, it is more dependent on my hair wash schedule.
Yeah.
If it's a hair wash, it's not going in a bun. At least one that looks good. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I like that question.
Okay, so another question as you look back on your military career. For those of you who don't know, when you go to the field, you have to eat these things called meals ready to eat, MREs. It's like not freeze-dried food, but like camping style,
Very
prepackaged, processed food.
Lasts forever.
What is your favorite meal ready to eat?
Oh, hands down, this is super easy. I'm going to put it into categories and then I'm going to get to my favorite. Okay, so I actually used to be a vegetarian. Not a lot of people know that about me, but I was a vegetarian all throughout college. And so I would always go for the vegetarian MREs. And they are known for having the better snacks, but I don't necessarily think that they're like top tier.
I think
MRE.
that they have the way better snacks.
Yes. And then I would say anything meatball, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
That's the worst to you.
Worst. Don't be giving me spaghetti. Don't be giving me... I've never eaten the hamburger because I refuse.
The beef patty, you mean?
The beef. I will eat the jalapeno one.
Girl,
no,
what?
the maple one. The maple one.
What?
It doesn't matter. But I don't like the spaghettis, and especially if it's in like meat sauce.
Interesting.
The pasta and meat sauce. I don't like that. Next tier, I would say chili over chili mac any day of the week.
I agree with that.
I'm not eating chili mac, but I'm going to frick up a chili.
I agree with that because the chili comes with a
cornbread.
And that cornbread is good.
I would eat that right now.
Me too.
Yes.
That cornbread is genuinely
Very
delicious
good.
cornbread. I'm sure it's not good for you.
No.
It is very delicious.
Yes.
The chili mac does not come with cornbread, and it doesn't come with as good of sides.
And the noodles are just gross.
The noodles aren't good. It doesn't come with good sides. So I feel like you have less options. Chili mac, I don't think is as good as people make it out to be.
No, it's people, and I only say that is because it is usually people's favorite, and I think it's the worst.
No, I disagree.
Not in the category. Actually, yeah, probably in the category with spaghetti and like the meat sauce. My next category is any of the chickens. So chicken noodle, the tortilla one,
Chicken chunk,
tuna chunk is going to be in that category. Not the beef strip one, but the
shredded beef barbecue.
I'll frick with that. That's probably in a step category below the chickens.
Okay.
Yeah. But my all-time favorite MRE is the hash browns.
Really?
Yes.
Because of the sides or the hash browns?
Both. So actually both. The hash brown, it's basically like shredded potatoes. There's like bacon chunks in it. And especially if you heat it up, you can heat up the cheese and put it in there. And it's just, I think, a genuinely good entree. Like I would eat that entree. If I was like civilian camping.
Yeah.
Yes. But then it also has granola.
The granolas?
The freeze-dried granola. So if you pour water in it, the powder turns into milk. So it's basically like having cereal. Hands down the best.
Wow, I didn't think that it was going to be hash brown for you.
And I feel like very passionately about that.
What is your favorite MRE snack to get?
Dessert or snack?
A snack.
Okay, snack is going to be the First Strike bar.
Which
Doesn't
one?
matter which flavor.
You like the cinnamon one?
Yes.
We would be a good combo in the field
because we could share.
Yeah, because you're liking a lot of the things that
Yes.
I'm like, that's a no from me.
I'll eat both of those.
What's your favorite dessert item?
Hands down, my favorite item in the MRE out of anything is the vanilla pudding.
Really?
Yeah.
A vanilla pudding gal.
And
I also love the pudding.
It is a unicorn. It is. I've had it maybe 3 times in my career.
The chocolate pudding's a lot more common.
And I also do really like the shakes and like the
drink
cappuccino
mixes.
stuff. I really like those. But yeah, it's really hard to find the vanilla pudding, and I love it because I'll put like just enough water where it's like still a little bit powdery and so good.
Wow. Okay, we would be a really good.
We would be a good match.
Good match in the field. You got to find someone. If you're not in the military, you got to find someone who likes the things that you don't like and
vice versa,
so that you can trade, because there's a big trading situation that goes on with these meals,
which is kind of fun when you're in like a platoon or like a bunch of people, because the options generally are limitless. Like, for example, I'm trying to think one of the things that I do not like that everybody else likes. Oh, Reese's peanut butter.
I also do not like those.
I do not like those. I will not eat them. And they are gold.
Yeah.
And you can get pretty much anything.
I don't like any of the candy. Like, I don't like Skittles. I don't like the M&Ms. I don't like the Reese's. So I will always trade those away. And like, people don't want their dried cranberries. I do. They don't want their raisins. I do. Like, I want those things. So it's really easy for me to get them.
And the monotony of the field, sometimes the meals are what you look forward to every single day. Like, I just remember sitting in JRTC and like not doing a whole lot and just being like, okay, what can I eat now?
Yep.
It becomes just a thing that you do, not it's a thing to do. It's not a thing to sustain yourself a lot of the time in the field.
And it's also like, sometimes you're living meal to meal. So, you know, it's like a signifying the passage of time.
Yes. I think I like MREs more than the average person.
Okay, if you had a yearbook title that like people that worked with you would like vote for, what would your yearbook title be for your Army career?
Whoa, that's a really good one. I think that's such an interesting question because the different phases, I just feel like I was so different in each of the phases.
You can pick a phase.
It would probably be something like most likely to outrun you.
Oh, that's a good one for you.
Yeah.
I have to bring this up. After your deployment, I asked this question. I don't know if you remember, but we had all of our friends write them. Do you remember what your dad said?
Oh.
I do.
Most likely to be president or something?
No, your dad, he didn't say most likely. He said best U.S. Army officer. Oh. And it was the sweetest thing because we were all like, most likely to, you know, do goofy things. But your dad said best U.S. Army officer.
Oh my God.
So
I don't remember that.
It was just so sweet and nice. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, best U.S. Army officer. And, you know, having someone that's cheering for you like that,
even if it's your dad,
even if it's your dad, is you can't beat that.
No.
You can't. And you know what? Honestly, I agree. Best U.S. Army officer.
Meanwhile, I'm like, most likely to ask for your cheese and your MRE. But yeah, probably that because that
most
was kind of
likely to
always,
outrun you.
that was kind of always my thing. I love running.
That's a good theme. That's a really good theme.
And I would use it for like PT a lot.
Yeah.
Like I did that in the academy. I did that in the fire academy. I did that a lot with my platoon.
Okay, so my next question is, what skill did you get from the Army? Not like something that you got from training. What unlikely skill did you get from the Army that you will be taking forward with you as a civilian?
I think the Arabic thing is actually really, really cool. And it's something that I want to keep up with. I don't know how well I'll do it, but I realized just how cool it was when I was in the fire academy, and one of the women that worked there, when she found out that I went to Lebanon and spoke Arabic, we became like best friends.
Really?
Yeah, we would speak every day, and we would like ask how each other's weekends were in Arabic, and that was really, really cool and special. And so I would say that would be one. But the likelihood that I'll do that is probably low. Okay, but
it's hard. Arabic is a hard language to keep up with. And my last question is, what are you planning on leaving in the military? What are you like? I'm done with that. That chapter of my life is closed. I am moving on from that.
Yeah, I kind of want to answer it two ways. Even though I'm able to turn on like my masculine energy side of things, I think in the last year, I've just taken a lot more joy in the creative things. Like I've really loved creating things for this podcast. I love, dressing up and like coming up with new outfits and just getting dressed up and like being more girly and having the time to do that. I want to keep doing that. I want to leave my more masculine traits maybe in the past.
I think it's so fun when you get to like rediscover your femininity after so long of being told hide that and put it in a box. Like even just being able to be like, I'm getting running shoes with pink on them. I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to do all of these things.
I'm going to put makeup on and not second guess it and not worry about being too pretty because it's going to make, uncomfortable situations at work or like whatever.
I hope that the generations that come after us, it's easier for those women and they don't have to have such a stark difference in that. Like, I mean, we truly entered our careers bald-headed.
Truly.
Like, they took away every ounce of what could possibly make us feminine.
Yeah.
As much as they possibly could. Like, truly. And then we had to slowly build that back up and regain it and regain it and regain it. And I think it's so fun when you rediscover it.
And then I think the second thing, we touched it a little bit on our New Year's episode, and we kind of hit a little bit on it in this episode, is just if it doesn't serve you, like, leave it behind. And so having the experience where I was so unhappy and so miserable for so long, but like not being able to do anything about it, I don't ever want to be in that situation again because it just took so much from me, like mentally, emotionally, whatever. And so job-wise, relationship-wise, family-wise, hobby-wise, if it's negative and detracting from my overall just like happiness, or I'm putting myself in a position where I can't say no or I can't get out of that situation, I don't want any part of that anymore.
I'm so excited for you. The options are limitless.
Truly. And
you can just be you and just figure out who Kathleen is in this next chapter. And I think everyone in our friend group, your family, like, we are just so excited to cheer you on and see where you end up. We're here to see what happens.
I know. Who's to say?
Here for the adventure.
Where will I be working next week?
We'll keep you posted.
That felt pretty cathartic.
Was it?
A little bit. I was telling a lot of people that, getting my DD214, it did feel very anticlimactic. Like, it's supposed to end with some big ceremony. Like, I didn't really try that hard to like say goodbye to a lot of people at work. And I'm kind of like that. I'm an Irish goodbyer when it comes to that. I don't like goodbyes.
I think that it would be very nice to celebrate with like our friends and have like the little DD214 party, because then it will be like a closing to it.
And maybe that was part of it, because like I was talking to a friend and they're like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, honestly, all my favorite people aren't in the state right now.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on people posting a bunch of pictures of themselves when they get out, or even taking it a step further, posting like Veterans Day and posting about themselves?
My perspective comes from someone who doesn't have social media, like you said. But I think it's very hard to boil down a career into those moments. Like, you could share a picture of your military career from every single day, and I still think it would be really hard to truly capture the essence of that person's service.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to like look at the brief caption that you write and the series of photos that you share and grasp what that means to you. Mm-hmm. And I think that people are sharing it because it's so meaningful to them, but it just doesn't translate that meaningfulness to other people. And so I think that platforms where people can like really share their story, like podcasts, like a little bit more long form storytelling versus a few photos on Veterans Day and a little caption. I think it's meaningful to the person, but doesn't translate to those who didn't know that person or didn't know their service. They're not going to understand what you are sharing.
And I think I am very possessive of my military experiences, and I don't share a lot of like the big stuff with a lot of people because it feels so personal. Like, it feels just so uniquely mine that I almost, don't want to.
It doesn't translate on social media. And because it is so personal, it's important for you to be able to share your story through your own voice. And I just don't think that a few pictures and a caption
is gonna do
the justice that you deserve. Like, it is personal. and it did hold a lot of gravity. But that's my perspective on it.
That's a good one. I like that.
And whether you share or not, that's up to you. Like, that's personal decision. Thank you so much for sharing about your
that was fun.
10-year career in the military and 4 years in ROTC, 14 years of your life, which, by the way, to put that in perspective, literally half of your life. Like, half of your life has been
consumed by military.
By the military. And you're going to continue serving, which I think is going to be really, really good.
So excited.
And we're really excited to see where you're going. And it's International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day.
Yeah, you too. And thank you to all of our listeners, all of our women out there. We're always rooting for you. We appreciate your support.
And if you like this episode, please be sure to comment. If you have any questions for Kathleen on her career or what she's planning next, go ahead and hit us up on our Shelaborate Instagram or on our website. If you have any suggestions for anyone we should interview, be sure to send us a message. And until next week,
we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Shelaborate. We can't wait to bring you more episodes.
Don't forget to follow, like, and drop us a review. Our episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Patreon.
If you liked the show, post it on your social media and pass it along. Women supporting women is the whole point.
We'll be back next week with more opinions, more stories, and more Shelaboration.
Until then, I'm Kath.
And I'm Tyra. This podcast is for the girls.